I'm looking at the snow going, I've got to get back to Klamath Falls before it gets too
Bronze Trail.
You're not a native here?
I learned to drive in Sacramento. The snow was something we went to.
Plant animals in ponds all the way down.
Ford pickup. When I moved to Klamath Falls 12 years ago, one of my staff people actually had to take me out and show me how to drive when you can't see the road. So I had a one lesson, but I still prefer to not
No, I don't
more
blame
than I
you.
can. However, one thing, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there are threats to every community, and these are things that could have impact that you may not have control over, but you need to be aware of. And so what are those threats for this area?
That we don't have any control on is drought.
Isolation.
Drought?
And water shortage.
Did I hear isolation again?
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
Regulatory issues, state and federal.
Okay. What would make this community, what would change this community if something happened? Really?
Well, okay.
What is your what are the things that you depend on being in place here that if you're no longer here? Yeah.
Internet.
Food supply, I mean, we only have Safeway, and
Okay.
if Safeway were to have a failure like, corporately and shut down, there would be drastic change.
Okay.
What else? Get through here without getting lost.
He gets lost.
He's lost, yes.
Gets lost going
Welcome to my world.
What about in the forestry industry itself, or in our major employers? Any
Fire,
other-
of course. Fire.
Fire?
Fire.
Okay.
Bark beetles.
Yeah, infestation,
Okay.
yeah, insects.
Insects, insect and disease, yeah.
You could have the Forest Service / BLM pull out and move to a different area and have the regulation of this area done at a different place.
And that would shift a good population out too.
Okay. And I know that is something that was a potential threat at one point in time, but was able to keep them here, so.
We hate them and we love them.
Any other thoughts on this?
Lack of road funds.
Okay.
That affects the roads that connects us and
Okay.
connects others to us. Can't get stuff in and out, or people come see us when we have potholes.
Upgrade, the lack of ability or lack of taxes, because we're 77% government land, to upgrade our infrastructure, our water systems, our sewer systems.
One threat, you got wildfires here, but is the human disease catastrophic in a community. It doesn't take very much to knock out a large percentage.
Okay.
Contagious disease.
One of the things that they talk about on a national level is it's called resiliency. In other words, what is it that would help keep the community, or it can be economic resiliency, it can be natural disasters. A lot of it in other parts of the country, they're threatened by hurricanes and tornadoes and all sorts of things like that. I guess our natural disasters then are the fire, the drought, and then our human disasters are more disease related, yeah?
Cascadia, but if we did have that event, that would really impact us, I believe. I mean, not so much maybe that we would have the geographic disaster, but the refugees, so to speak.
It would also potentially knock out our broadband communication.
What's Cascadia?
It's the earthquake event that they
On the coast.
They have studied off the coast of Oregon, the tectonic plates, and have predicted a Cascadia event, which is a 9-point-something earthquake that would basically take out, as we said in California, we would have beachfront property in Klamath Falls. So, you know, because it would take out a
from
lot.
I-5 west is where they feel like there would be the most impact, which is.
Well, see, it serves those Western Oregonians right. They're not paying attention.
There you go.
So this is really our opportunity, right?
Right, there you go.
That's an opportunity, yes.
Yes.
What about the volcanoes also? There are active volcanoes
Okay.
in Lassen is supposed to can go, and you know that's a possibility.
This Cascadia event could trigger
Yes.
volcanoes to reactivate.
When's it supposed to go?
Sometime in the next 100 years.
Oh, next 100. Oh.
Yes. Actually, I heard 40 years, but
Yeah,
yeah.
along these happy lines is threats to the power grid.
Okay.
Many of these things would cause that, but
Yeah.
we're
Right.
producing all this power, we're not keeping it. It's going elsewhere, so if the power grid went down, Lake County's isolated and pretty much SOL.
Well,
Actually, we'd be able to use it.
Actually, we're.
Well, yeah, but we need tie-ins to it, and I don't know if that exists.
That's why that
We
community.
could pirate the solar panels.
There's inverters and reverters and things like that, and there's lots of PUC complications, but Jim is working on it.
Yeah, that's an issue, content storage. And if the Marine wants to organize a boarding party to take over the power grid, we can do that.
So, from your list of kind of the opportunities and also the weaknesses, are there any kind of priority things that you think we need to really be working on right now? Yeah.
Could I add one to the opportunities?
Sure.
It's related to the airport,
Uh-huh.
and it's to extend the runway.
Okay.
And that comes up periodically in discussions, and if the runway was extended, it could bring jobs here.
Okay.
Jobs like 2 or 200?
It's hard to say. The Air Force is interested in making the Lakeview Airport a recovery field for the F-15s. They're going over all the time. But they could land there, but they'd be questionable whether or not they could take off again. So they'd like to have an operation here where they could base some people and some facilities here if they needed them.
So it would be an expansion of what is happening in Kingston?
Yeah, it's in the airport plan, in consideration of extending the runway. It hasn't been done. So it is an opportunity, and it would bring some things back.
Also, if we get a big industrial plant with the executives, sometimes they like to fly in and out with larger aircraft than what we can handle.
Yeah, on hot days in the summertime, they're real limited on what kind of aircraft can come in here.
I have, in some of my late night musings have thought, if Red Rock does come and they're manufacturing fuel, jet fuel, can some of that be used locally? Has anyone asked them that?
I don't think anybody's asked. The diesel
Hopefully
could,
What? Diesel, biodiesel,
the
because they're also
biodiesel
gonna be
can, but I
doing-
don't think anybody's asked the question on the jet fuel because their contracts are with Southwest Airlines. and
Right, and the
FedEx
other
and
potential with them is that there are
military.
some byproducts, the ash and the, I'm not thinking of the word. Pardon?
Biochar?
Yeah, there's that, but there's naphtha and some other byproducts that come from the process that there needs to be some sort of industry or business or whatever that's gonna help take that product away from here. Or it's either has to be trucked out or it has to be processed here for some reason. And a lot of what they're gonna be producing are soil amendment types of things through those processes, so, yeah.
Everyone
There's
here
potential there.
is aware that we will know, what, in 2 weeks, whether or not,
Mid-April.
by mid-April, whether or not the Red Rock biofuels plant will be built here. So that is one of those things that is been a 3-year siting process, 4-year.
It seems.
Probably more like 5, but.
Well, we're talking about prioritizing.
Yes.
And not things that are gonna happen.
Could potentially happen.
What about, the internet base seems to me to be one of the most important, if you're going to attract people here to do what your daughter's doing. If they want to come here because of the place, then you need to be able to work here. And also, I don't know, we're not going to have any say over the roads, the highways, so we need to think of a way to have some input about the roads, instead of just sitting and waiting for Salem to decide they have, or Washington DC decide they have a little bit of money to fix a, 2 or 3 mile stretch of road that.
We do interact with ODOT one-on-one, but there's no
Maybe
assurance.
we need to buy our own trucking firm and.
That's a great idea.
I think the solar is a reality. We've got enough on the books now to use more than our total capacity. And not all that's gonna get built. But what is it, what it does over the next 4 years, that's $6 million new in taxes. It goes to the hospital, library, school districts,
For
all
some
great
million
jobs.
dollars.
New
What-
tax base.
What about the community power? Is that something that
That-
is viable? Is that something
It's
that's
very
short-term?
viable. We've got we have talks going with the hospital, the schools, and the low-income housing, because there's that requirement with it also. But industry, as they should, wants to pay a nickel a cent a kilowatt hour, and that doesn't pencil out to build one. But the PUC will be deciding till the end of this year to get the final rules. And if they decide at 6.5 cents, it should be a go. You'll build the maximum you can build is a 3 megawatt. So it's community solar. And we'll do that.
Solar to use back into the community.
We got,
On the tourism side of things, is people aware here of the rural tourism studios? The state of Oregon is actually coming in, along with the chamber, is hosting a 2-day workshop at the ski,
Yeah, the Warner Mountains.
Warner Mountain Ski Hill. And that, they will be talking there about, first of all, your potential in recreation tourism and agritourism, and also along the lines of taking advantage of your rodeo and your opportunities to bring more people in for the events that you have. So that is something that we are working on now, that if anyone has any passion at all for that, there's more workshops that could be going on, and they have some really good training opportunities also along those lines.
As far as priorities, resource expansion,
Okay?
forest industry.
Okay.
And housing.
And housing. Some of these things, for instance,
Housing, because there's a lot of houses that.
additional housing resources, internet-based, could also lead to more variety of careers opportunities here. We do have, the online college opportunities now. One of the things I've heard that I think they're looking at is through ESD, is offering more remote classes like an AP, so that you could maybe be part of a class that's going on in Klamath Falls, but not have to leave here to be able to do that. So I think that's one thing that we can, make sure we have on the radar screen there.
We sold a house, the nurse is moving here because through the synchronized classroom at the hospital, she can get a nursing degree. Doesn't have to go somewhere else. So those opportunities could be expanded.
Yeah.
Remote training? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We've got that capability in Christmas Valley and Lakeview and Paisley, hospital.
You'd have the opportunity to expand your trades training without necessarily a lot of money. You could have volunteers, and don't you have that middle school now that's got room and space to have trades training there? I know that it's been taken over by Klamath Community College, but it's big, and it would seem to me that you could get volunteers in town to train on trades.
One of the things we're looking at in conjunction with Klamath Community College and the work, this East Cascades Workforce Investment Board, which is an organization that covers several counties. They're looking at creating a kind of a boot camp for the trades, which is an entry level, which is a short-term certification that may not lead directly to an apprenticeship, would be a pre-apprenticeship, that then once they're going through that, they can get work and then maybe go into an apprenticeship program. One of the challenges with apprenticeships, though, is having somebody who is in the trades already, who's willing to take on and do that training.
And that's why I was saying, we haven't talked about volunteerism. We always talk about grants or...
So we need to take advantage more of volunteers rather than...
And mentors.
Yeah, volunteers and mentors, okay.
And I have a quick question about education. Because of the Daily Fund, which is the longest fund of its kind in the United States, this county used to have more college-educated people than per capita than any other county in Oregon. Now we've got, 3 or 4 more scholarships to be added to that, but I look at the statistics.
I know, I was surprised.
And I see that it's really gone down, and I don't think Dr. Daly wanted students to go to Oregon colleges to come back to his beloved Lake County. Well, nobody comes back much anymore. But also, we don't hold the universities responsible for helping us, because we're sending students to them, the University of Oregon, Oregon State, I don't know how many Oregon universities they are now, but they come here once a year and sign off on the Daily Fund. But we need to see if we can get more entree into those universities and have them come back and do things for Lakeview, like Lake County, like studies, like bringing professionals here to help, like training, that kind of thing. So and that can be something that we can just go ask them.
Yeah, no, they do have some programs and things in place, but I think I like the way you're approaching it. It's not necessarily going to them and asking for their students, but actually having them recognize that we're giving them a pipeline through the education system. And this actually, what you're saying is actually what ties into the 20-year-olds not being here. They are leaving. The well-educated are not here in this community because they're leaving the community.
What are you saying about me, Betty?
Well, I was surprised by how many people did not have any high school education, but then there are a lot of older folks that went to work into the mills before finishing high school that have never gotten their high
Yeah,
school.
that's fair. That generation is just about dead.
Well, according to another statistic in your thing, you have an awful lot of people who are living past 85, so, yes. Other things, other thoughts of things that, if we had to prioritize where our few economic development dollars were spent, you know, where do we spend our time, and what are the things we should look at first? I think we've got a good list here. And they're all things that I really have on the radar screen, but we have not worked that much on the building the volunteer and mentor networks. And that is another thing. What about entrepreneurship? Does anyone see any opportunities like for small businesses to expand markets?
Well, go ahead.
It takes capital, even a really small business like mine. Now, money has to come from somewhere. And there are people with great ideas and no money and not any understanding or knowledge of how to get money. And then they don't know you.
Right,
So,
and the education, what I've
Right.
noticed, I've been back now for like 3.5 years. The last year, it's like people are finally understanding what I do and they show up, you know, and it's gotten, you know, I have like 2 or 3 people a week now that either stop by or call me and they've got a question, sometimes it's more. They've got a question about something to do with business retention, if they're already a business owner, if I add those people in, then the numbers of who I'm talking to go up. But people who want to start something, the startup, I'm seeing more, and I think that you're seeing more in Klamath too, aren't you? Yeah. So, but what I find is that there is a real disconnect in terms of educating people about what it is or what it takes to really do that. I mean, yes, you need capital and you need money, but you also really need to understand how to do a business plan, why that is so incredibly important. Not only because it will help you access capital, but it also helps you think about how am I really going to practically do this. I've got this wonderful idea, have all this passion and energy about doing it, but how am I actually practically on the ground going to be able to do it? And people are finally starting to ask me those questions. It's taken a long time.
yeah, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do, and I have taught 3 classes in Lake County in the last year, one up in Christmas Valley, so I have gotten up to the top part of the county. It's called a Smart Startup class, and it's not just for startups though, but it is a class, it's just a 2-hour class, which covers all of the things you should think about, or things you should know, or resources that you might need related to starting a business and running a business. And then that links you into the Small Business Development Center program, which is also based in the same office as ours over in Klamath Falls. But they also have a counselor who comes over here as needed to work with businesses on business issues, whatever it is, and it's all confidential. So we are trying to expand those services here into this county. SCOEDD is a gap financing organization. In other words, we do microloans. We do lending to businesses that don't qualify for traditional commercial financing. And I do have 3 Lake County businesses that I have helped with financing, but I have more funds, and I have funds that I need to get out the door. So that is another opportunity that is there, it's in place. It's just, we haven't done a real good job of marketing it and getting that information out. If we get our funding, we may do more of that in the next year.
And that's not just for startups, that's also for businesses like yours. If you want to add a product line, or you need more of something and you can't quite get there from here, then that is available for that also, so that you can enhance what you're already doing.
It comes down to access to information. Like, we come over and give a little workshop, but if Joe Blow don't hear about it, it's wasted.
It's a communication issue.
Communication.
How do we communicate better?
They start with the high school kids.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that facetiously, I think they need the information for their growth, whether they stay in Lakeview or not. So if they have this information, they can take it out in their world.
Are you,
Yeah.
any of you in DECA and are working on any business type of, or is more of the?
I don't think they have
They don't.
DECA anymore,
Okay.
unfortunately. But in Avid, I think maybe they do a little bit of that in the Avid class? No?
Maybe in the older Avid, but
Yeah, the older Avid.
Yeah.
And I know they've just started working with concessions with the Alger, and they're getting some, they're getting some of that.
yeah,
At
and
least
that, I think that's actually 6th graders, and then there's some sophomores and juniors that are helping with that.
Right.
Any of you plan on starting a business here? No? No?
I did once.
You did once, yeah. It's challenging, but there are opportunities, and one of the things that we do know is that you do lose a lot of retail sales out of your community, and so trying to capture and keep things locally could expand on your business opportunities also. So.
Now, one opportunity is to enhance our civics classes so that the young folks will become county commissioners with their intelligence and innovation.
We need some, county officials in training, huh?
Yes.
Or public officials in training, civic entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
There is actually such a thing there are programs out there on civic entrepreneur, which is basically, volunteerism or community commitment, understanding how you can work within your community to make change happen. So that is one thing that, it isn't just about what we can do. This is, community. We need to have you engaged also in the future. So I am going to take this information. I'm going to have more workshops. We had one in Christmas Valley earlier. We're having a few more over in Klamath area. And then I hope I get everyone's sign-up information, because I will share kind of the process as we go through it and get this information out with you. And would love some of your impact, this is just not for now. If you are like me and you have your inspirational moments at 3 o'clock in the morning and you want to share it via Facebook or something else, you're welcome to, or emails or other things. So if you have hopefully have signed in and shared that information. If there's things that you've thought about that you wanted to tack up on the wall, we can do that, or just, find Ginger and give her some information. And other than that, anyone else have any other comments or anything else? I mean, this, like I said, this is a process we're going through, and out of this will come some strategies and things that we will be looking at developing.
Just a question, are you going to email out like minutes and attendees and stuff for this?
Yes. Yeah.
Where's she sent it?
It's also, anyone who knows of anyone that couldn't make it today, it has been videotaped, and so there will be something on your website, right?
There is one thing that has to do with the local paper, and that is sometimes it's not inclusive of, it exercises discretion about, letters that it prints, and that goes back to that classism thing about some people they like and some people they don't like. And so part of that communication is you may get notice of a meeting, but it's too late, or the paper comes out only once a week, and maybe there needs to be like a bulletin board or something in that newspaper, because there isn't now. There's just little articles about what may be coming up. So if you could have what's happening this next week or something, like the Klamath paper does, and it comes out daily. But I think we could have better coverage of the newspaper, and I think it could be more inclusive.
they do have on their website is a community calendar, so in it, you can.
But not everybody has a computer, Ginger.
No,
And
I
that's-
see what you're saying, you're talking about print.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah. I mean, this is a poor place, pretty much. I mean, you know, there are a lot of poor people here that are under the radar. And
Anything anyone else wants to share
I
before
do.
we?
In relation to opportunities and many of the things on there that were emphasized, my concern about bringing industry in, and solar is a good example, it doesn't create jobs. There's the installation, those who come for installation and then they're gone. So I would really hate to see a lot of emphasis go into anything that doesn't create jobs. I mean, it's easy to pour a whole lot of money into whatever anyone's personal interest is, but if you create 2 jobs and it took $10 million to do that, I mean, what's the point? I mean, we're here trying to grow the community, not serve somebody's special interest.
Yeah, the one benefit that's, let's say, solar have is not the jobs per se, it's the tax revenue to the taxing districts, and then including the county. And then how wisely do the taxing district utilize that money?
It's back to kind of that, what is economic development? Is part of it is wealth creation, it's job creation, it's wealth creation. What else is it?
This is more a question for Ken, I guess. Can you earmark some of that money, some of that tax money to generate jobs? So the taxing district, it gets extra money, it gets a windfall from solar taxes, that's all well and good. But can part of that money be earmarked for priority things that the county would like to have happen? Or does it just go into a pot and they do whatever they want?
It has to happen at the state statute level. So all personal property taxes stay in county, and they're all voted. There's 27 groups that bring levies in that are funded through those monies. 100% of that money stays in our county. And so those monies are already earmarked for that way. So that would be, you'd have to create another levy.
So the solar money goes out and then comes back, is that?
No. So, like Ken was talking about, that field south of the sewer pond used to generate less than $500 a year taxes to this community. Now it generates over 70K. Ruby Pipeline generates 25%, over 25% of our tax annually. They cut over $4 million to the county that help fund and do all that. Those all go into these levies that are done. And that's how it's dispersed. That's been that way forever.
And that's limited by the Oregon statutes.
Right, but it's that way statewide and all the counties with all the levies. So he's saying if you can get some of that money earmarked towards that, that would mean you'd have to create a levy.
Yeah, I'm asking a question, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what I took from the question is, if $100 come in and the county gives, what, about 25, 26%, whatever it is, let's say the county gets 25, the rest goes out to the taxing districts. What do we do with that $25? Deferred maintenance has been a big issue for big things. But do we prioritize it? Usually we try to cover empty holes, but haven't really prioritized.
There's no tax, no property tax goes to any road maintenance. Our county road department is not funded by property tax, and that's kind of a myth that's out there, but it's not. They get no tax money.
And just for information, economic development is actually funded by video poker. So everyone go put your quarters in. Because that is how the state of Oregon actually is funding economic development, is with lottery dollars. And so the county, any funding that they have that they can pass on to do specific, work in the economic development field, whether it's what Jim does, whether it's what we do, comes out of the funds that are made available because of the number of video poker games that you have in this community and how much revenue those generate. And it is a nonsense way, as far as I'm concerned, to fund the work we do, but that is the reality of it. So.
But that's lottery dollars coming back for economic development. I think your question was property tax that comes in, can we prioritize that? Property tax is pretty much discretionary. We pay our wages and everything else. But can we start putting a little aside for, if we identify a project, we can set some money aside and build on it.
So you can do that with property taxes, that's what you're saying?
That's general fund.
The county gets a small portion of the tax, so it's 3.76%. $3.76 of every $1,000 levy goes to the county general fund, and the commissioners are the ones who oversee that. The balance of that all goes out to the levies that are already accounted for.
And when do the levies finally come to, or
The levies are ongoing operating deals. Bonds are a short-term build. So like if you're gonna build a hospital, you float a bond, and when that paid out, the North Lake School bond was floated, that paid out.
because of this huge expansion of the hospital facilities, is that all tied up in
That
that?
huge expansion was voted and approved by everybody in the community. They asked for it, wanted it, and they approved that bond, and that's where those funds are coming from.
Okay. Quality of life is another priority, I think. Economic development.
Okay, we almost made it to 3 o'clock actually, and it stopped snowing. I really appreciate your time today, and anyone who wants to stay engaged in the conversation, you know, come find us. We'll make opportunities for you to continue to have input. Thank you.